Hi there ladies and gents, Jax the Hexer here, and I'm now producing and uploading videos from the future. Or not. Perhaps I just know the value of a nice surprise, and I secretly uploaded an extra video before I left in order to give you guys some extra content while I'm away. Cyber 5! Before I get into this one, I also want to say thanks to everyone for helping me hit 200 subs. I had no idea this channel would gain a following so quickly, and I'm proud to be putting out content for this wonderful community. I'm definitely looking forward to doing it for as long as possible. I have an idea for a contest as my way of saying thanks, so keep an eye on the channel in about a week or so. But without any further ado, today we're going to talk about splashing. Rather, to be more specific, splashing off colours in hex decks. Alright, so let's get definition out of the way. What do I mean by this? Well, if we say that a deck has primary colours, and these colours make up the majority of the deck, splashing a card is including a card not of those main colours, and including only a few resources or threshold fixing effects in order to support those off-colour cards. As an example, let's say I'm running a Wild and Diamond draft deck, but I've included 2 blood resources, and perhaps an adaptable infusion device to support a copy of Murder in my deck. You would say that I've splashed blood in order to play Murder. It might already be obvious to you, but splashing a colour runs a risk. You have a fair chance of drawing a card of that splash colour and not being able to play it. Sometimes you might draw a resource of that colour when you really need one of your main colours. So why even consider it at all then? It's simply a case of more risk for more reward. More often than not, in constructed decks you won't need to splash, as with every card available you should be able to select high quality cards within your colours. However, when it comes to drafting, often you may find yourself with some lower quality cards, and splashing for a strong card in an off colour can be just what the deck doctor ordered. In a draft, the most common types of cards people splash for are high quality bombs and removal cards. The reason for this is simple. They are the cream of the crop, and you'll often wish you had more high quality removal and bombs. Splashing outside your primary colours can help give you access to these cards. At this time, I'd just like to point out that you don't always want to or need to splash. It is more risk for more reward, and sometimes your deck is just peachy without that higher risk. But, if you do feel like you should splash in your deck, what should you be looking for in a splash card? Firstly, it should have a strong enough effect to warrant a splash. Typically, high quality bombs and removal fit this bill. While there are, for example, many troops you might like to include in your deck, if they aren't bombs then usually it's not worth the risk of not being able to play them. Secondly, preferably, it should have only one threshold requirement. The more threshold the card requires, then the more resources you need in order to make it reliable. Often, you'll end up in a situation where you either can't play it, or including those off-colour resources has screwed some of your other cards over. With those last few cards, while I would be quite comfortable splashing Wild Root Dancer or Murder, I probably would not splash Redeem or Burn to the Ground. They are definitely powerful cards, but how much of a risk you're willing to take is up to the individual. Personally, I'm not comfortable with the double threshold requirement in a draft deck, though this could change if stronger threshold fixing cards are revealed. So, basically, when building a deck, and in particular a draft deck, keep your mind open to the possibility of a splash. If you do want to splash a single threshold card, include 2 to 3 resources of that card's colour. If you have any decent cards that can give you a threshold of your choice, you may want to include those as well. However, we're not actually done yet. With Hex, there come 2 more mechanics that we might want to splash for: Gems and Champions. This choice won't come up nearly as often as splashing cards as, in my opinion, no champion has an ability that completely dominates all others, and the same applies to gems. There may be off-colour champions and gems that you may wish to have in your deck, but often you'll find that the reward does not justify the risk. If you do want to splash for a champion, follow the same guidelines as a card. Try to stick to a single threshold charge power, and include 2 to 3 resources of that colour. If you want to splash for a gem, it's even easier. Just include 2 to 3 resources of the gem's colour. And that's pretty much it. To summarise: 1. You probably won't need to splash with a constructed deck, but consider it for a drafted deck. 2. Try to avoid splashing anything with 2 or more threshold. 3. Only splash high quality cards with a strong effect. 4. Champions and gems are balanced enough that you probably won't need to splash for them. And 5. Always remember that splashing is more risk for more reward. Always consider if the reward is actually worth the risk. With these basic tips, you should be able to move forward in your Hex career, and know if you're ready, willing, and able to make a splash. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is all we have time for in this special holiday edition of Jax the Hexer. I'll be back and ready to produce more content in about a week, so until then, keep being exceptional.